I'm not getting it yet. There we go.
Here we are. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Shared Diary first episode, officially podcast. And this has been a dream of mine. And I know Debbie and Nicole, we've all had these conversations. And so thank you guys for joining us. And I just want to say welcome wherever you're listening or watching from. We're so glad that you're here with us. This isn't going to be so imperfect. We're just showing up as who we are, where we are. And if you'll notice, if you've been following or watching any of our shows or broadcasts, a lot of times we'll have backgrounds, but for the Shared Diary, we are where we are. So we were talking about this yesterday, and I was like, well, I mean, the blur was all weird and like half your head is missing. So I was like, well, I'm not going to do a background. I'm just going to do where I am. So I may be in a coffee shop. I may be on the beach. Debbie may be in her home, or she may be in Mexico. Nicole, who knows where we're all going to be, but we are so excited you're here. So why don't you drop in the chat if you're joining us live, where are you joining us from? And how did you hear about this? Because this is a soft launch, but it's also a big deal because I've never done a podcast and Debbie has some experience. Nicole hasn't ever. So this is streaming live to Facebook and to LinkedIn and YouTube, all the places that we will be. So Debbie says, hi, I'm from Alberta, Canada. But thank you guys for being here. It's super exciting. And our hope is that when you spend time with us, that you'll feel connected, encouraged, understood, a part of our circle, which will be expanding more and more and more as we reach the world. So our goal here is to share our thoughts. And we've had some really cool conversations already informally on some other lives. But today we are going to just introduce ourselves and have this casual type of conversation that we've already been having. So I'll start just by saying I'm Lori Phillips, the founder of the Be Awesome Network. It is a network of over 25,000 people living on Facebook and expanding out to YouTube and LinkedIn and all the places. But it's been my joy and honor to be the founder and to be, developing a community of people who can come together and inspire one another. My message is always that you are awesome. And I truly believe that everyone has awesomeness inside of them. So that's how I met Nicole and Debbie, and I'm super excited just to hear from you guys. So Debbie, why don't you start? Introduce yourself. Who are you? And let's get this ball rolling.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, everyone. We're really excited, as you can tell. And also, as Lori said it, we've been actually having these conversations for quite a while. So that is also, it's like this. We're announcing it to the world that it's actually a podcast, but we've been playing with this for probably 2 months. And the conversations have just been so rich. So as you can see on my title, there is, I am the founder of the Shine Leadership Advantage. I have a couple different communities as well. And that's also one of the things that brought us together, is we very much are connectors and people that really do care about the culture and the community and that aspect. And so it's also part of our shared diaries, our experiences, what it feels like when you're seen and supported and felt like you belong, versus kind of on the outside peeking in. And we all have our own individual stories on that. So I live in Alberta, Canada. I actually realized that I am a neighbor to Nicole Cowley, but we didn't know that when we first met. And so again, mine is a global community. Lori's is a global community. Nicole supports people all over the world. And this is us coming together to maybe impact or influence or bring the conversation even to a wider audience because of the three of us. So over to you, Nicole.
Well, thank you. And oh my gosh, I am so excited for today. It is actually a dream come true for me to be here with Lori and Debbie and doing a podcast. I mean, this is so exciting for me. And so my name is Nicole Cowley. I am the founder of Next Step with Nicole Renee. I really help women really build deep internal wealth. And what I mean by that is I help them build the things on the inside that help them live really richly on the outside. And it is something that I truly take to heart. I've been able to be a mentor within Debbie's program. I'm in Lori's program as well. And it has been such an honor to serve within there and really help people reconnect to who they are, come home to who they are, understand the way their mind works, and really be able to, be walking side by side with them as they journey in this lifetime. And, meeting Debbie and Lori has been one of my greatest gifts. And it has been from joining communities. I think, that's one of the things that I continue to remember is so important along the way, is that we are not meant to do this journey alone. We are meant to do it together. And when you join incredible communities like Lori has, Debbie has, you meet the most amazing people who turn out to often be your lifelong friends. And so today we get to come together in the shared diary. And what I'm so excited about this, and what we've talked about before, and what matters to all three of us, is being truly authentic and sharing our voices of what real life is, what we go through, what maybe probably many of you go through, and so that we can all share that together and not feel so alone on this journey. So we are excited. We are excited to be here. And thank you. Thank you so much for everybody who is joining us today. I'll give it back to you, Lori.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Debbie, for those beautiful introductions. And so we kind of wanted to give you guys a history behind who we are. And speaking of everyone who's listening, Dr. Stacy Moore, Lonnie, Manza, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Pollyanna, for commenting. And this is, like I said, this is going out to so many different platforms. And this is a new thing for me personally, is how to connect all these platforms and the technology behind it. So it's very, very exciting. And Debbie and I love tech, so that's something we will geek out on together. But I would just open it up with a question: why did each of us say yes to this podcast, and what's the heart behind your yes? And for me, I really have had this on my mind and heart for about 2 years now. I went through a kind of a real crash physically and emotionally and mentally, and my neurological system just shut down and I had to recover. And I thought I would never be the same, but once I started to recover and start to discover who I am and how valuable I am, because what I was doing is pouring myself out way too much. So once I understood how valuable I am and got to the point where I was recovering, I was like, well, you know what? If I can recover from this awful thing in my life, which everyone faces something awful, but this was really awful, then I think there's other people out there who have gone through things, and I would love to just create a community. And in my mind, I was channeling Mel Robbins. I was like, I want to be Mel Robbins someday. So I started the Be Awesome Network, and totally showed up imperfectly, just like today. But I've learned so much. And along the way, I met Debbie, I met Nicole. They are founders in the Be Awesome Network. So they've really been there from the very beginning. And so the why did I say yes? I mean, because of these amazing conversations we were having and interactions and connections. And I know some of you who are listening and watching have experienced that. And what I think is so special is that we said yes without knowing what the heck we're doing. So with that, I would love to just throw it to you, Debbie. Why did you say yes?
Well, I love that. And one of the most important things to me is that it is unscripted. It is definitely authentic. And sometimes questions go really deep and it's like, ooh, I don't know how I'm going to answer that. I'm going to filter it, or am I going to actually be honest and truthful? And you know what? We have grown so much just by having these conversations that it was really important for us to have them in the public so that other people we're mentoring, people that haven't met us yet, actually understand more about themselves through our conversations. So one of the reasons that I said yes, and if anybody knows me, you probably also know that I didn't need another thing on my to-do list. We laugh a lot behind the scenes, so this is good. We joke, we laugh, we're real. And one of the things that, I've had a few people say to me, another podcast, Debbie? Like, how many places can you be seen? Well, I'm all about visibility. And honestly, every conversation that I have should be in public. It should be. I mean, yes, people pay for mentoring behind the scenes, behind closed doors with me. But in order to experience who I am and what I'm about, I want to have as many conversations in the wild, in the wide open as possible. And then when people like Lori and Nicole ask you to be a part of something, you just say yes and you figure it out. And we've actually found time in our schedule, which again is, what is your focus? What is your intention? What is the outcome that you are looking for? Because you will find time. And so kind of letting go of some of the things that maybe weren't bringing me as much joy as this, and then intentionally making sure that I'm leveraging my time so that more people can learn about my heart and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So that's why I said yes. What about you, Nicole?
Oh, well, all of your yeses have been incredible. And when I met Debbie and then met Lori, it was instant. It was instant friendship. It was instant resonance. It was all of those things. And the more I had conversations with them, I was like, oh, I related so much to what they had to say. And when we started talking about doing this podcast, I had been dreaming about doing one for a long time because to me, I went through a really challenging time 11 years ago. And I will tell you that podcasts were one of the most important things in my ears at that time. I needed to hear that things were possible. I needed to laugh. I needed to cry some days. I needed to have inspiration. I needed to, actually feed my mind stories that really lifted me up because my stories weren't so great at that time. And I kept thinking about, how important it is if we can have these positive messages out into the world, or, have a place where people can come in and feel part of a community or feel like they can resonate with someone. We never know who is listening on the other side. And I really believe that, between the three of us, we've all had different experiences in life. We've all had different things happen, and we all do different things within our life. But what I think is beautiful is that I think our conversations, based on what we've already had, are going to be things that people can join and feel like they're having coffee with us and just sitting down with us and being like, yeah, me too, me too. And I think that's one of the most important things, is the me too. So I am thrilled to do this. I really, truly believe the more we can get these messages out into the world and be able to share community together, the happier we'll be. The happier we'll be. So I'm just truly grateful. Thank you.
Okay, now you guys know exactly what we're talking about. I mean, I'm just like going, oh my gosh, wow. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's me. I was always digging into podcasts and searching YouTube before we had, AI. It was like Googling things, right? Learning, growing, trying to heal myself, trying to show up better for myself so that I could show up better for everyone in my life. And I love that, Nicole. Thank you. So those of you who are watching, thank you so much for commenting. I think it was Pollyanna is in Florida. No idea where you're in Florida, but so am I. So let's get together. But I want to go on to kind of the next question, which is, let's get to know each other. So this should be fun. We're gonna just ask a question, a couple of rapid fire questions. So I'm gonna say coffee or tea, morning person or night owl, and I'll start. So I kind of am coffee and tea. So coffee in the morning, tea at night. And I'm actually kind of both of morning. I'm kind of like fluid. Morning, sometimes it's a morning, sometimes it's a night owl. But ever since my health challenge, I've been trying to really focus on sleep and trying to get in bed at a decent hour. And one of the things that I put into action after I crashed was no alarms. So I try not to set my alarm. So I let myself sleep. I let myself wake up when my body wants to wake up. Sometimes that does cause a problem. But I'm learning to prioritize myself. So those are my answers: coffee or tea, morning or night. How about you, Debbie?
I love that you're a rule breaker. It's like this or this. I'll choose both. Well, I'm the same way. I'm going to tell you exactly the same thing. It's so interesting. But maybe for a few different reasons. So coffee in the morning, it just feels good. It just feels like that's home. It's not like a wake up. I don't ever feel like, oh God, I need my coffee. It's like, it just feels like I center and I'm at home and it feels good. And then tea in the afternoon, it does the exact same thing. It's like, it's almost like, oh my goodness, I get to sit down and have a cup of tea, a cozy cup of tea. It's that relaxing. I am probably more of a morning person. I don't know when that switched, the teenage years where you could sleep till noon. Well, I couldn't sleep till noon if I had to now. So I do love, but I shut my brain off at night. And that's also part of the reason why I have tea. I love these questions. They're definitely not anything that we've normally talked about. So we're learning stuff about each other at the same time. But I think that what I heard there in you, Lori, is that you said, I'm paying attention to my body. I'm listening to my body. So again, if coffee is not working for you, please pay attention to your body and honor it. And that's awesome. Thanks for answering questions, guys. We love them.
I was just going to say that I'm seeing them answer their questions because that's how we're going to get to know them too, which I love this because we have never done this. And so it is really fun. So I am definitely a tea person. I have never liked coffee, like not even from the time I was in university. My friends thought I was nuts. They're like, how do you get through? How do you actually function? And I'm like, I don't know. I love the smell of coffee. I actually love it. Like, when you go into breakfast places and the smell of the coffee, I'm like, oh, I love that. I love the smell, but I don't like the taste. So, and I only started loving tea probably like 4 or 5 years ago. I think like it was around there. And I like green tea. I'm mostly a green tea drinker, but I find it too so soothing. Like I find it like a luxury. Isn't that funny? I find it like a luxury when I have a hot tea in front of me. I'm like, oh, my whole system just relaxes. And it's like just tea. It's just tea, but it's amazing. And then morning or night, I'm definitely a morning person. I have been when I was really little, for sure, no, because I was always late for school. I remember my friend would come pick me up and I'd be sitting over the heat register because I liked being warm and she'd be like waiting for me. And I'd be like, okay. So when I was really little, no. But as I got older, I started to really appreciate my mornings. Like I love to hear the birds. I love being up with the birds. Like I love when life starts. And so for me, it makes my day so special. And I started to do it a lot when the kids were little. I'd get up really early and that'd be my time to work out. That'd be my time to meditate. That would be my time just to be. And it's still really special to me. And I do like night, especially when there's a party, but the mornings are my most special. My mornings are my most special time for sure.
I love that. I love that. As you were talking, I was like, okay, now I know why the coffee is such a comfort. It's the warmth, it's the luxury. It's also, I've moved away from traditional creamer and I use mushroom powdered creamer with butter. So it's like, that's the cream on top. So I feel good that I'm doing something kind of, halfway healthy, maybe not, maybe not all the way, but yeah, that's so interesting. I love that. And thank you guys so much for chiming in. And yes, Pollyanna, I'm going to look up wherever you said that was. I'm going to try to find Winter Garden. There we go. Okay, thank you guys for joining us with your coffee and tea, whatever you're drinking. Okay, so the next rapid fire round is 2 more questions: beach vacation or mountain getaway, and books or podcasts. So for me, I think if you know me, my answer is beach, 100%. I have seashells on my necklace right now. So I love the beach and I do love the mountains, but if I had to choose, I would definitely choose the beach. And then books or podcasts, I would have to say I don't sit down and read very well. And I've tried so many different ways of doing this. So I'm going to say podcasts. I love to listen. I prefer to watch, because if you're watching right now, you might see our facial expressions and the dynamics and us laughing at each other. Whereas if you're listening, you don't really get that. But I could do either. So, but I definitely love the podcasts. I think that that's why wanted to do one, is because I feel like they're just so very helpful, and especially when they're real and not, just content. It's actually, you're learning about the person and you're learning about life. So those are my answers. How about you, Debbie?
Yeah, well, this is interesting. Normally we're sitting here talking about things like alignment and truth and trauma and all the things that we've gone through, real life's experiences. But at the same time, we go deep. That's naturally who we are. And yet when you asked this question, I went, oh, it's an and again. I love the mountains and I love the beach. But then I realized, guess what? I actually love it when I have mountains with water. So it is the water, it is the beach. So you let me go deeper. You let me go into why do I love that? There is something soothing about water, whether it's a waterfall, whether it's a trickling in the background, whether it's a river flowing, or whether it's a beach where I actually get my toes in the sand and maybe a margarita in my hand. There is a difference. And what was the other question, Lori? Because you could see I was already going over that one so much that.
Podcast or book?
Oh, yeah. That also was a this or that. Interesting. I was always a book person. I needed to have the book in hand and I needed to be able to read it. Like when the Kindles first come out, I was like, no, thank you. But over time, when books became more of my study, they were more me learning, then I wanted the podcast in my ear to kind of decompress and come back to who I was and really just listen. So interesting question. Thanks for helping me learn about myself.
I really love these because it's challenging for me too, Debbie, because on beach or mountains, I mean, being Alberta, we're surrounded by mountains. And whenever I get into the mountains, it's like I just take a deep breath. It's just so magical. And the mountains are so majestic. They're so big. And they're just so that's where I'm always looking at creation and being like, oh, how did this ever happen? Right. It's just so amazing. So when I'm there, I'm always like, oh, it feels so good. And I love to hike. So that for me too, is I love hiking. And so the mountains are always beautiful on that, but I've always loved the water, sitting on a beach and even just listening. We have a cabin. And so we have water obviously at the cabin, and my bedroom, I'm lucky enough to have it facing the water. And at night I can hear the waves just go slap the shore. And for me, waking up with that sound and going to sleep with that sound is probably one of the most beautiful, relaxing things for my soul. And so really, I love both, definitely love both. They're both so important in my life. And then books or podcasts. I will tell you, when I was little, I was not a great reader. I didn't sit down and read. I was I watched more things than I read. And I knew I was oh, books. I used to have friends ask me over and they're like, do you want to come over and read? I'm like, no, not really. When I was little, it just wasn't my thing. But as I got older and I started to get really interested in things, really interested in subjects that I loved, I couldn't wait to read. I was oh, I wanted a book. And then when I had my kids, there wasn't a lot of time for reading. And so podcasts and then Audible became my thing. And so in my car, my kids will get in the car and a book's on and they're like, oh boy, here we go again. Here's mom's books. But I'm always listening, and I'm always wanting so many things to come through me and hear them. And so podcasts and Audible have become huge for me just for time purposes. I love books, but those have really helped me just to be able to take it all in.
Same here, Nicole, on reading as a kid. We always had these programs at the summertime where you join the library and you get rewards. And I would be like, my mom would take me to the library and I'd be like, how many pictures are in this book? This is the one I'm checking out. So I love that too. But the same thing is like I had to take a book and learn from it. I didn't really like recreational reading until a friend of mine later in life was like, you should try it, Lori, just try it. And so I checked out a book and it was just fiction. And I just actually had a lot of fun. And I took it to the pool with me. I just like blazed through that book. So I was like, okay, that's important too. You can do a fiction book that actually is a different part of your brain. You probably need to exercise that too. I love that. Okay, well, the next two questions are fun. They are introvert or extrovert. Sweet, I'm going to do three. Sweet or salty, and planner or spontaneous. So for me, I was born an introvert, and this is interesting. I learned how to be an extrovert when I decided I was missing out in my high school career and tried out for cheerleader. So like literally yelling at the top of my lungs kind of taught me to open out of my shell, because I was a very shy kid. Pretty like studious and just not really like out there, and just kind of, kind of status quo, just tried to stay in the middle. So I became an extrovert. So that's kind of fun. I mean, I got to experience both worlds. Sweet or salty? Can I do both? I like sweet and salty. I love a good chocolate covered or yogurt covered pretzel. And then planner or spontaneous. I mean, I hate to say this, but I think I'm like, maybe I'm just some sort of chameleon type person, but I like both. I love when I'm on vacation. I like to plan out the getting there, but I don't like to have plans once I'm there. I like to be spontaneous and do what feels good. What's the weather doing today? I like to have options, but I just like to go with the flow. And yes, absolutely, Debbie. Yes, please, if you're listening or watching in the comments, please tell us, what are you? Are you sweet and salty? Are you extrovert, introvert? Or are you planner or spontaneous? So I don't know. What are you, Debbie? What would you categorize yourself as?
Wow, so interesting. Again, as we evolve and grow, I was an introvert for years. In fact, probably until 15 years ago, I was so shy. I couldn't do anything. And it really, is part of my story of why I help people be visible and feel seen and heard and valued today, is probably because of that. And it's so relatable, because some people will say to me, well, I don't want to be visible. And I'm like, oh, I get it. I totally get it. I understand. However, if you have a business, you can have the lights on and the door open, but if you're not going to show up, how can people find you? So it's also part of that. And I help people work through that a lot. So as an extrovert today, it's not about me. It's about the people that I serve. And that's why I can show up in the way that I can. If it was about me, I couldn't do a podcast. I couldn't do an interview. I couldn't do anything. That's when I get nervous. And I know that my ego is making it about me. I'm giggling because we talk about ego a lot, but I definitely know the signs of when I'm so nervous and I feel like I'm going to puke. It's because I'm making it about me and what other people might think about me. Sweet and salty, it's definitely both. There is no question about it. That is my weakness, something sweet and salty. I can hardly pass it up. And then what was the last one? Sorry, I'm like, let's do three questions at once. Planner or spontaneous? Again, that one's mixed. I love to know what time are we leaving, because guess what? My husband probably would be 2 hours late for everything if I didn't say, hey, we're leaving at this time. Are you going to be ready? So that would drive me nuts. So I love to know like what time we're leaving and what is the main thing. But once we're on an adventure or a travel, I don't want to plan anything. I want to get up and I want to go, where are we getting lost? Where are we exploring today? How are we going to do this? So there is that certainty, and then there is that uncertainty that I definitely crave as part of the adventure.
Well, I think I agree with both of you on lots of this. Um, except though when I was little, I was pretty extroverted. I talked a lot. I talked a lot. And so I wasn't very shy when I was little. I think for me, I don't know, I always loved people. And so I just wanted to be around people, and it just made me feel more energized. And I really love that. But as I've gone older, I would say I'm an extroverted introvert. And so like I can be when I go out, I can do things, but I really enjoy my alone time now. Like I really do. I love, just, going for my walks, or, watching a show, or if I have time to read, great, or those kind of things. I used to not want to be on my own, and now I cherish those moments lots of times now. So I think I've kind of evolved the other way, where I can just definitely do things on my own, and then love when I get to be around people. But I need both, need both in my life. Salty versus sweet. I think I'm more salty. But when I was little, I was really sweet. Like I liked everything sweet when I was little. And in fact, even when I was in my teenage years and like moving out, I'd have a cinnamon bun every morning for breakfast. Every morning with a big glass of orange juice. That would be my breakfast. I was like, oh, that is sugar overload. Like it was just so much. And I'd have it all the time. And now I'm just like, no, that is not the way I am anymore. Probably because I had to change some of that. But I'm more salty. I would say like I go for popcorn. If there's popcorn around, like that's my kryptonite. I love popcorn. Love, love, love popcorn. And then planner versus spontaneity. I'm the same with both of you. I like to know what is coming up or what we're going to be doing. But once we are there, I love just letting it all roll. Like I love just don't have to make dinner reservations all the time. Don't have to do all this all the time. Be there. I just like to be able to kind of go with the flow. And I think, for me, it came from when my kids were little, I had to be so scheduled, right? You had to be so like everything, their school, their extracurricular, everything that had to be. And then when I would go on vacation, I'd be like, I get to eat when I want to eat. I get to go to the washroom when I want to go to the washroom. Like it was all those things, right? And so I think, I started to really appreciate spontaneity and be able to just go and do those things. So I have a combo of both for me too.
I love it. And Nicole, as you were saying, a cinnamon roll and orange juice. I'm like, how did you do that? Because it's like you eat the cinnamon roll and it's so lovely and sweet, and then you're like orange juice sour. So it was like, you know what I mean? Like, how did that work? I'm like visualizing it. Like those are the two things I would not have put in combination, but each to their own. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to do one more quick question, and then we'll get into kind of a little deeper about kind of life, like what these conversations are really going to be. But I love this question, so I didn't want to skip it. What's the one thing people would be surprised to learn about you? And this is like one of those games you play, right, when you're getting to know people around a card table or something. And this question has come up quite a bit in my, I guess, adult years. And this is the one thing that people are always surprised by, and I don't know why, but I'm an artist at heart. I love to paint and make, and working on now I've collected seashells, and I'm lining them with gold and making necklaces. Not this one, but I'm going to make necklaces out of seashells because I love seashells. I love to combine things that are beautiful already and put them to use in a different way. But one thing that people are really surprised, it has to do with art, is that I know how to tattoo, and I have done tattoos on other people. So I don't know why, but it was one of those things where it was, the tattoo shows were so popular for a while on TV. And I just thought, I want to learn how to do that. And so I actually got gifted some fake skin and a tattoo gun off of Amazon, and I just practiced and practiced and practiced. And so I redid an ankle tattoo on one of my best friends, and I did another design. At first I started on the hip where you wouldn't see Like if I mess this up, then no one will see. But it was so fun. And so that's something, you know, people wouldn't say, oh, Lori, the tattoo artist, but there you go. How about you, Debbie?
You know, I think that's fascinating is that as we get to learn about each other, what I think about the other part of that is often when somebody introduces themselves, they say something and it's almost like, this is who I am. And I always think there's so much more to you than a title or a whatever. So it's in that I wouldn't have known you were a tattoo artist. I also wouldn't have known that that was something that was kind of that claim to fame, but in a way it is because it's such a memorable thing. I'll never forget it now. So when you asked this question, I was like, geez, there's a lot of things people don't know about me. What will I go with? And Nicole, you've heard this story before. And so I got the whisper of this is the thing to share. And I had a near-death experience when I was younger. And because of that, or in conclusion to that near-death experience, I have a lot of gifts. In fact, I can even talk to dead people. So that's probably something that very few people know about me and have never probably admitted in a public setting like this. But it felt like it was really important because a lot of people say, Debbie, how is it that you are such a good listener? Like you seem to know things before anybody else, before I even know it about myself. And as a coach, it is a gift. It's a gift that I hid for a long time, but it is a gift that has really helped me. But I think it came from that, or maybe in combination to that and other things. Because I did have some of those gifts before I had that happen, but I had also pushed down and tried to forget and hide those gifts. And they just continue to come forward. So Nicole, what about you?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, first of all, Lori, I did not know that at all. I would not have even known that. And it's amazing, amazing. And then Debbie, you and I've talked about this before. And oh my gosh, wow. When I come to all this, I feel like sometimes I'm too much of an open book. I feel like people know too much about me already. So, but what some people might not know, well, there's two, I guess. One is that before I go and speak or do different things, I get really nervous if I'm doing it and there's like tech stuff behind it. So if like, I'm totally good if it's just me and talking, but if there's like people having to come into a room and then I have to switch to this and I have to do that, I'm like, ah. I kind of have this like freeze, right? I panic a little bit. So inside I'm always like praying to the tech gods that everything's going to work out really well. So I'm always like, please. And I think if I go back to that, that's that thing about having to have everything together. Like feel like you have to be together, have your stuff together in order for you to like feel not as vulnerable and not, in a place of like any chaos. So I think I still am working through some of that in my life where I have to hold things together. And so I think that is probably the other thing I guess is that many years ago, I had extreme postpartum depression and anxiety. And that really, really changed my life many, many years ago. And it was a really challenging one to go through. But it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about me. It taught me about how to become resilient, how to move through it. It taught me a lot about guilt and shame. And it really shaped a lot of who I am today. And so that might be some things that people did not know about me.
Yeah, and this is so cool because as you guys are listening and watching, and thank you, by the way, everyone who's commenting. I love a spontaneous, salty extrovert. It was what Tara says she is. And then Lonnie says a 71-year-old who currently has 8 tattoos. Oh, yeah. And then there was someone who commented, who was this? I'll have to go back and remember, maybe Debbie, but a hidden beach inside the mountains. I want to know more about that. But I think that might have been Lonnie. But okay, so this is amazing that we're learning these things about each other, but there's also kind of a deeper part of the why and the where and the how. And so Debbie, for you to have experienced that in life, and then for a gift to come bubbling out of that, which probably you didn't understand at the time when you were learning that you could have this communication with people who are no longer here on earth. And, these are real life things. And so I'm going to go a little deeper, and actually thank you, Nicole, because Nicole is you can't tell already, Nicole's our deep thinker. She is like, we want to talk about this, and we should probably talk about this. Well, I mean, she's intuitively a healer. She went through a healing journey. She learned all of these modalities, and now she's helping others. And so she's got a wealth of information and thoughts that I probably wouldn't think of myself unless I was prompted by. So thank you, Nicole, for coming up with these amazing questions. But the deep question for today is, what's one lesson that life taught you the hard way? And so now, as you can tell, we are like, oh, sweet, salty, fun. Now it's going to get deep. One lesson that life taught you the hard way. So for me, I'm going to have to go out on a limb, and I'm starting to talk about this a little bit more recently, but I've been divorced twice, and divorce is hard enough, but then to experience it 2 times is really hard. And here's the deal: the lesson that those relationships taught me is that out of a broken relationship, there's brokenness. And so what is my question that I had to ask myself is, what's broken in me? Because, you tend to want to blame the other person in the relationship that, it's their fault. And in a lot of ways, there were some things done in both relationships that were hurtful and had nothing to do with me. But on the flip side of that, I had to have been a part of that. And so just recently, I was trying to kind of remember my story and going back and thinking, I've been the one person that you say, oh, you're pointing fingers. Well, there's 3 pointing back at you, right? And so I've had to really take a deep look at myself and determine, what's broken in me. And so those 2 divorces, not fun to admit, not fun to talk about, but it's real life, right? Those 2 divorces taught me that I chose these people out of some brokenness. And so when you are trying to build a foundation on a broken foundation, right, it has cracks and all of the things, well, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes it does. And I think it's beautiful when it works out. I do. And I was hoping for that, but it didn't happen. And it wasn't only their fault. It was also some to do with me. So what I'm trying to learn from that is to go into life thinking, okay, who am I and how can I become whole? Because in any relationship, thank you, Lonnie, losing a child to cancer, wow, hope can still exist. That's so very hard. And thank you for sharing that. So yeah, the things that we go through in life, we learn and we grow and we change, and we either come out better for it or we come out bitter for it. And so for me, I choose to be better. So, all right, with that, let's go to you, Debbie.
Wowzers, you definitely went from the sweet and salty to the deep. If you guys are watching the video version of this versus the audio version, you'll see that we all cracked up here, because this is the way we are, and this is how much trust we have for each other, and now extending this outward. I've been through a lot of real life learning moments, and I probably could write several volumes. But the thing that I think loops back through all of them is self-care is not selfish. I had to learn that through 2 burnouts, through losing people in my life that took me to my knees, to building a business that it was either going to be sustainable or it was going to take me down. And I wasn't going to allow that. So I had to change the way I looked at things, the way that I understood what is self-care, what is true self-love, right? Because at the time that I went through both of those burnouts, I wasn't loving myself. I wasn't respecting myself. I wasn't giving self-care. I was putting myself absolutely last. And for any of you that are in that right now, all I'm saying is just that unconditional love of self, like you love your baby, your puppy, or anything else that you can relate to. It's a practice that I invite you into until it becomes a habit, because I struggled with that. And I can remember when I was helping support my niece who was dying of cancer. Me and Lonnie have talked about this. I was 10 months. I was at the hospital 24 hours with her. I stayed overnight. And when I went home, which was 3.5 hours away from home, you can imagine how much was left for me to do, as I had twin boys at home. And so I was trying to manage all things for everybody. And I remember my dad coming and taking me out, which I didn't want to leave the hospital. I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have time. And he took me out and he said, if you don't take time for yourself, you're not going to be here for your own children. And what I heard in that was, but how dare I choose my children over her? She needs me more. But who I wasn't bringing into the conversation or the thought was myself. So I had to crash and burn. I always say I'm a little stubborn. It takes me a while. It's like knock, 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 bang. And that's what's happened in my life every time that I've done that. But I'm praying that the healing that I've gone through and what I take people through with my Shine framework and everything else is making sure that it never happens again. And that I recognize those things of filling my own cup up first. And when does it feel like it's pushing and pulling and working and hard versus when is it life-giving? Because that's the life I live in right now. And it's completely different. Over to you, Nicole.
Wow. I think with both of you, I can relate to both of you in different aspects. And so thank you for sharing those really pivotal moments in our lives that really do change the way we see the world. Mine for sure was, again, just like Lori, it was a divorce. And it really had me take a really good look at the way I had been living and the way I had been showing up and what was happening in my thoughts and my heart. You know, for a long time in our marriage, I was a stay-at-home mom and I loved being home with my kids, but I had this desire inside me to go create. I wanted to create things. I wanted to use my mind in a different way. I wanted to contribute to the family financially. I had all these things. And then I had this story that I couldn't do that and be a good mom. And it was just in me. Like that story was so deep in me that I couldn't see anything outside of it. And what was interesting is what I've learned along the way is that when you do not listen to who, like that whisper inside of you, things go sideways. Like when you actually don't listen to what it is you need, what you want. I was a huge people pleaser. And I think I got a lot of my love and value from that. I think that's where it was like, if I do the right thing, people will see me as a good person. If I do the thing that everybody wants, I will be loved or I will do the right thing. But what I noticed is that when my marriage did fall apart, I had no idea who I was really. And I didn't have the courage to step into what I wanted because I hadn't practiced it forever. Like I hadn't practiced it at all. And I felt guilty even wanting it. But what was interesting is that the divorce actually forced me into it. So here it was that I had in my heart wanted to create and help people and do different things. And the divorce actually made me see that it was possible. My kids were going to be okay, that I could do all the things. But that's one of the reasons I care so deeply about people understanding their thoughts and the way they see the world is because it can either keep you trapped or it can help you expand, grow, and do so many things. But if you don't know those thoughts that are keeping you in that place, it can cause a lot of misery. And it can really keep you from living the way you truly have or truly want to. And so I believe in living authentically. I believe in communicating what we need. I believe in doing the things that we need, not from a place of selfishness, from a place of expansion and growth, that we're meant to do these things. And so the divorce was for sure one of my hardest things and one of my biggest lessons, financially, emotionally, all those things. But it also has shown me that I can stand on my 2 feet and I can actually have the things that I want, and I can still be a good mom, and I can still, show them what resilience means. And so for those gifts, I am grateful. For those, I am grateful.
Wow, Nicole, that's so beautiful. And I was resonating with you, Debbie, when you were talking about burning out. And I was resonating with you, Nicole, when you were talking about, putting yourself on the back burner and not choosing yourself and being a people pleaser and where that led. And so, we're running out of time, but I want to ask this last question because this is really the heart of what you'll be hearing every single week, and that is true life and thoughts and confessions, and just like it talks about. It's the shared diary. It's 3 women, no secrets, just life, which is so beautiful to me. So I'm going to skip the last part, which is going to be fun for next time. But this I think we can end here on this question. Because it leads to who we are today. So what's a chapter of your life that shaped who you are today? And without a question, a shadow of a doubt, for me, the chapter that leads to today, me, who I am today, is that chapter of burnout. And I've told this story in multiple different ways, but when you said, Nicole, and you said, I was putting myself on the back burner, that was me. I was living through life. I was in my second marriage. That relationship was struggling. I was working full time, supporting 6 kids basically on my own because my then husband was severely depressed in bed all day, not really contributing, right? And I'm not blaming him, but that was the real situation. Is I felt like the world was on my shoulders, and it truly was. We had one of his children was suffering in a really, really deep way. My kids were still trying to deal with the fact that I wasn't with their dad anymore, and that there was a new man and a new blended family, like the Brady Bunch, quite literally. There were so many things. I mean, I could name so many other things and factors, but at work, I was pouring myself into my job because that gave me the satisfaction, and I could control that, right? I could perform, I could impress, I could, I could show up as, not this, withering away woman at home who was, in a loveless marriage, but this powerhouse woman who wants this promotion. And I went for it, right? I hired an assistant. We were restructuring, and I was going to be the new chief of staff, and that didn't happen. And when that didn't happen, it was like the last and final straw in my life, because the one thing I thought, maybe I can have something in my life can go how I want it to go, and it didn't go. And that was the actual day or the actual week where I crashed. I drove home. I don't remember driving home. I woke up in my clothes, and my mom was outside my bedroom door. We were separated, so my then husband wasn't there. I was so confused as to where I was and what I was doing. I started to kind of just not exist. I didn't know myself anymore. I didn't know how to feed myself. I mean, it was really, really bad. I mean, my nervous system, and Nicole knows a lot about the nervous system, so does Debbie, but it shut down. And so I wasn't hungry, I wasn't eating, I wasn't showering, I wasn't walking, I was just in bed. And I was actually a little bit crazy, out of my mind. I got on my phone and I deleted 30,000 pictures from my camera roll because I was overwhelmed by how could I ever live with 30,000 pictures, right? So I was trying to find my bearings, and thankfully 30 days, you have 30 days to put the pictures back before they get deleted for good. But yeah, so it was a really, 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 really rough time. And so had I not experienced that low, I wouldn't have known that I wasn't taking care of myself, that I wasn't considering what I needed and what I wanted. I was trying to think of everyone else and how it could all look good on the outside where it was just crumbling on the inside. So that chapter of my life, although it was a really hard, probably the hardest chapter because there was physical pain there, I was afraid that I was going to be like this forever, like people were going to have to take care of me. There was a lot going on. But had I not experienced that low, I wouldn't have known that, it's important to take care of yourself. And so I slowly, brick by brick, built that foundation again. And now it's stronger than ever. And now I ask myself every single day, what does Lori want? And I left my hometown, not because I was running away. I hate it when people say, like, what were you running from? It's like, no, I wasn't running from anything. I was running to me. And so when I left my hometown and I came to Florida and I built a life here, I thought I had that mom guilt like you, Nicole. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm leaving my kids, even they're all grown up. You always think they need you. But what I realized is that I'm actually setting a really good example for my kids. You need to consider what you need and you need to follow that. And so I started the Be Awesome Network, and then here we are today. So I hope that wasn't too much time, but I just wanted to share, like, this is what we're going to be talking about every single week is real life stuff and lessons we've learned. And hopefully for those of you who are listening or watching, you're getting some cues and some hints as to how you can consider yourself and how you can improve your life. Not that it needs improvement, but that you're not alone, right? You're not alone. This is our experience. You also have your experience. So I'm going to go to you, Debbie. What is the season of life that taught you where you are today?
Well, I think there's been so many seasons that, again, it's one of those questions that I don't think I could answer in multiple hours. But what I want to reflect back to the season I'm in right now, that I'm seeing so much growth and so much certainty and so much transformation, is that in what you just said, it's what you went through that made you start the Be Awesome Network. It was like a lifeline to you at the time, but look how many people you have helped and supported along the way. Over 25,000 people in her group, because she consistently showed up and told people every single day they were awesome. Who needed to hear and who needed to remember that they were awesome? Lori. So she did it for herself first. And then with that pain, she turned it into her greatest asset, because she got to remember as she shared each other's stories of who that is. And the season that I'm in today is the season of that, where I am committed to helping people share their stories and be that trusted voice in their industry so that they can create a ripple. And the ripple starts with you, but then it starts with your family, your friend circle, and it just continues to grow outwards. And that's the biggest shift in my life to date. But many of the opportunities and the things I went through led me to this, where it all's coming together to this point. So great question. What about you, Nicole?
Oh boy. I mean, both of you, I can relate again to the journey. And just like Debbie was saying, there's so many things that have made us be who we are today. But I will say for sure that, just like you were saying, Debbie, the things that I went through were for me first before I could actually go and share. And, I would say I was extremely scared. When you go from being a stay-at-home mom and then financially having to start over again at 43, I'd been home for 8 years, and I was like, how am I going to do this? Or how can I even figure this out again? And each step that I took, each step where, like, the first one was that direct marketing company, each step showed me a little bit more of who I was. Each time I was like, oh, that's a bit more of me. Oh, I'm coming back. Okay. So, each one was like divine. I believe in this. I really do. Each one is almost divinely guided, right? Each step is leading you towards where you need to go. And so each one did. And as I went through, I was healing myself all the way along and helping others do it at the same time with me. And then I would try to find the things that really worked for me. And then I was like, okay, now I need to share those. And as I started to share those, people started to, get better results, all those things. But what I realized was, like, we were in this journey together. We were going side by side, moving as we went along. And each step, and I say that with my clients each time, each step tells us a little bit more of who we are, of what's possible, of who we can be, because each step is representative of who we believe we are. And so I think that's what I've learned along the way with each one, is who I believe I am. And it keeps evolving and changing and getting better and better. Some days not. Some days I'll be like, do you believe that? That's not good. But like each step, each one is meant to come along. And so this chapter for me is probably one of my greatest chapters of my life. I really believe that, because I think for so long I didn't know who I was. For so long I didn't even question who I was. Now I do. So that is for me what I would say this chapter is for me right now.
Wow. Okay. Well, as you can tell, those of you who are watching, and thank you guys, as Debbie said, thank you for chiming in and sharing. Lonnie, thank you for sharing your journey. Tara, sudden death of a loved one. I mean, these are big things that happen in each of our journeys, and that's what we really want to communicate through these conversations, is that this is not just another podcast. This is a conversation where we're showing up authentically as who we are, and we're inviting you to do the same. So wherever you're watching this, in the comments, please just tell us, how did you feel? What did you go through this process? Because this is kind of what it's going to be like every week. We'll have different themes, and we've already done several themes like momentum, authenticity. There's a lot of different episodes that we've experimented with, and again, we're showing up imperfectly. This is not even produced yet. We don't know what we're going to do. We're going to get our brains together. Yeah. Go ahead, Nicole.
I just have to say something really quick, because I see my mom's on, and I think, how amazing is that? She's been along with me my whole journey, and I'm going to get teary because she's helped me so much, helped the kids and I and everything. And then, like, she's figuring out all this tech stuff, and she's like, when are you on? Can I be there? And so I just want to say, I love you, Mom. And thank you for being here. I know you're such a huge champion. So thank you. I just had to come on because I didn't want to not. I saw her on. I'm like, way to go, Mom. She figured it all out. It was so good.
That's so awesome. Hello, Catherine. And that's the beautiful thing about us being on camera, is we can kind of take cues from each other, because, Nicole's over here raising her hand like frantically. And, we did a little work with AI to put us all three in the same room for our podcast image, which is so fun and hilarious because we've never met in person. So I think that just really goes to show you that you can make true connections, even if you're not meeting at a coffee shop. And that's the beauty of our online presence here in all of our networks, Debbie's networks, my network, Nicole's community, it's spreading out far and wide. And so this is only episode 1. And so excited about this journey together. So thank you, Debbie, for helping with the tech side and getting us to stream in multiple places at once. And thank you, Nicole, for coming up with the content and what we should talk about this first episode. I don't know about you guys, but I'm thrilled with how it turned out. And so you can pretty much expect this every single week. Nothing about perfection, nothing about, we know it all. We don't know it all. We're just doing life together like you're doing life together. And so I'm so grateful that you have been with us here, listening, chiming in. Keep those comments coming, even though if you see this and you catch this later and it's not live anymore, comment, because we'll see the comments. And speaking of that, if you need to reach any of us, we're all on this instance wherever you're seeing it. So we'll be adding our contact information and that kind of thing. But thank you guys so much for listening in, joining in, being a part of the conversation. And that's really what we want this to be. So thank you guys. And I'll give it to you, Debbie and Nicole, if you have any last and final thoughts.
Just thank you. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. So our first episode is complete, in the box, in the in the what do you call it, in the can. There you go. I was like, what is it? It's a can. It's a can. The shared diary, 3 women, no secrets, just life. And we like to call it also 2 blondes and a brownie. So if you waited for the very end and are still listening and watching, then congratulations, you get the inside scoop. We love to call it 2 blondes and a brownie, and that's just who we are. So thanks everyone so much for watching. Be sure to tune in every Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, right here where you're seeing this episode, and we will see you next week. Bye everyone.